And good morning once again, Acadiana. We are here this morning. Bernadette Lee and Brandon Como here in studio. Joining us on the line this morning, Carlos Harvin. Sir, good morning.
Good morning to you, Bernadette and Brandon, and good morning to your listening audience. Great to be with you.
Well, we certainly appreciate the chance. All right, let's talk about who are you? Why are you doing this? We love to ask candidates about what motivates them. So take it away, sir.
Sure. I am a 16-year resident of Lafayette Parish. I live on the north side of town. I am a native of Washington, D.C., and what brought me to Lafayette was the fact that my ministry, I've been a pastor now for 28 years, and it was the closure of Holy Rosary Institute here in Lafayette that asked that caused people to ask my bishop to look into trying to keep Rosary open. Unfortunately, the school was closed, but we opened a church. And it was a church that grew very quickly on the north side of Lafayette, and that connected me. That's what caused me to move here. And my ministry quickly went outside the four walls of the church. I worked at that time with then Mayor President Walter Como. I've worked with Mayor Kenny Bowen. I've always had a heart and a passion to uplift and improve the conditions of my community, and that's what a minister to me is all about. And quickly, I saw that, issues of housing, jobs, helping families to improve their situation, that is my heartbeat, and that's what caused me to go ahead and get into the race as well.
So I'm curious as to what you would like to see done. Would it be more tax incentives, making people aware of what is available down there? How do you think we can revitalize that area of town?
Wow, your question is a great question, and I realize I'm wearing two hats, running for a position that is a mayor of a city, the city of Lafayette, and president of a parish, where I'll be working with other mayors. So we're looking at Broussard, Carencro, Dussault, Milton, Scott, and Youngsville, and city councils in each of those areas, and a new parish council. So while it's like my wife and I, we've got 3 children. We're not going to feed one child and let the other 2 go hungry. We're going to take care of all 3 of them.
Right.
Well, we're a family from Carencro all the way to Youngsville, where there's drainage. And my platform, the 5 planks in my platform, number 1 is drainage. From Carencro to Youngsville, we've been struggling with this issue for as long as we all can remember. And most recently here, after Tropical Storm Barry, we saw flooding on Evangeline Thruway, flooding on a University, flooding on Moss Street. There was flooding on Ambassador. If there was a hospital emergency on the north side, without taking back roads, folks would have had to go to Opelousas General. Yeah. So the very first issue I want to attack as parish president of 7 municipalities is drainage. The second item, which is number 1, as the mayor of Lafayette, I want to be known as the mayor who fixed the front door, the intersection of I-10 and I-49. When we look at the north end of our city of Lafayette, we see an area that has not been properly developed with businesses, residential, retail, restaurants. It's the front door, the first impression. When people are coming off of I-10, they're coming in from Lake Charles or Texas or New Orleans, or if they're coming down I-49 and their first time coming into Lafayette, I think we need to present a better representation of who we are as the city and the parish of Lafayette.
Now we're speaking with Carlos Harvin this morning, and sir, you have an interesting position. A lot of times when we ask candidates, hey, when you get out on go door to door with people and you get out on the ground and talk with people, what have you learned? Your position is very unique, and as you have described what you've been doing here in Lafayette area for the past 16 years, you are out amongst the people. You are talking to people every day, especially as a pastor and someone who has worked in the community to make it better. So let me ask you this. What are maybe some of the issues that are not getting talked about on this stage, but is an issue or two that you'd like to bring attention to because of the unique background that you have in dealing with people on an everyday basis out in the community?
Great question, Brandon. And even before I point to a specific project, I realized early on when I finally made the decision to get in the race, not only are we talking about programs and projects like drainage and jobs, all of those are very important. But what became so evident to me as a 16-year resident on the north side of Lafayette who has worked with people from many parts of our parish because of other jobs I've had as well, is that I'm looking for this, and it's captured in the slogan of this campaign: one parish, one people, one purpose. Whether we are on the north side or the south side, whether we're Democrat, Republican, or independent, whether we vote blue or red, or it's in the words of Abraham Lincoln when he gave in that Lincoln-Douglas debate, a house divided.
Yeah.
And it is my desire to remove divisions. There's a spirit of unity that I want us to forge. I don't care if I live in Doosan or the unincorporated area of Milton. We're all affected by a lot of the same issues, regardless of party, regardless of color, regardless of where we live, and how we can come together as a family. So this campaign is focused on how we can build bridges. There's divisions that need to be removed and bridges that need to be built from the north side, the south side, African Americans, Cajuns, Creoles, with income levels. How do we create an understanding that we are all members of the same family that we love so much, this parish that we call Lafayette? Once using that as a backdrop, we'll be able to fix our drainage problems. We'll be able to fix our budget problems. We'll be able to fix our workforce and educational problems, roads and infrastructure, neighborhood beautification, if we're all going at it as one family, and especially with now that we've fixed the charter. We've got a city council, we've got a parish council, we've got a mayor president, and we've got mayors and councils in many of these other cities. So how do we work together as one team? So that's what we're going for with this campaign.
All right, we shall continue our discussion coming up. Carlos Harvin is joining us, one of the candidates for Lafayette Mayor President. Sir, we'll ask more questions coming up. You're listening to Acadiana's Morning News. One of the candidates for Lafayette Mayor President, Carlos Harvin, joining us on the line this morning. And all right, I want to get back to questions, sir, and ask you, okay, what do you think we've been lacking as far as representation in the district? How would you shake things up? It seems like, well, I don't know. You tell me. Has enough been done for the area you're going to be, like the area you really want to see the revitalization for, let's say, if elected to the mayor-president spot?
Yes, my focus will obviously be on developing the entire parish, all 7 cities, with a priority on an area that has gone neglected. That's the Evangeline Gateway. Mm-hmm. That's the intersection there at I-10 and I-49. The reason, as I say, I want to be known as the mayor who fixed the front door is that's the entry point into our city. Absolutely. So some would say if you count the traffic that goes east and west on a daily basis on Interstate 10, that takes you from Florida to California. You look at the traffic going north and south on Interstate 49, that goes from New Orleans to Canada. It's arguable more traffic passes at that intersection than at any other intersection in our state.
Yeah.
So that's our nickname, our hub city. That's the hub of Louisiana, the boot. So if you look at the area right around the hub, there is a lot of undevelopment. For example, when I talked with you about that flooding we had with Tropical Storm Barry, mm-hmm. I would love it, rather than folks having to choose between fighting traffic and flooding to get to a local hospital or Opelousas General, I'd love to see a hospital right there at the intersection of I-10, I-49. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine the economic impact that we would have in this region? We would be pulling folks from Lake Charles, from Breaux Bridge, from Crowley, coming Scott, coming to a hospital that is right at the I-10 or from Carencro, Upper Lafayette, the north side, if you look at the jobs, the restaurants, the retail, the neighborhoods, the housing development, it's going to have a ripple effect. And also what I'd love to see is to look at, I don't want to raise taxes. No. What I'd love to do, rather than raising property taxes, I'd rather us increase the number of families that move to Lafayette because of our quality of life. Mm-hmm. So, for example, 5,000 to 10,000 new residents, new households. I'd love to see that within the next 4 years because people see Lafayette as a destination. Yeah. Well, it's going to require a new hospital. It's going to require new businesses. It's going to require commercial growth and development. It's going to really stimulate the growth of this region. So that's why I have a spotlight I'd love to see right there at I-10, I-49.
So how do you get the people here, though? How do you get the jobs here and all of that? Even, to the parish as a whole, how do we start attracting people outside of just the idea of the front door? We do desperately need some jobs with, the oil and gas industry. My God, 18,000 jobs, the last 4 or 5 years that have moved to Texas, basically. We need some industry to come in here or to be revived. What would you think would be a good way to kind of start tackling the issue?
Well, looking at the research that Greg Gautreau's done with LEDA, the Lafayette Economic Development Authority, he's identified 4 economic growth sectors that Lafayette and the Acadiana area is poised. One of those is medical. Mm-hmm. So if we look at medical, we're looking at energy, and we're talking about maybe renewable forms of energy. Yes, if we look at oil and gas, and, that was rough when it hit our economy with the downturn. How can we diversify our energy? If we look at renewable energy, solar, there's some, other forms of energy that we could look at that whoever gets out in front of that is going to be a leader in that area. Entertainment. Mm-hmm. More and more folks are coming to the Lafayette area because of our unique culture, this region, the Atchafalaya. When you look at movies that are being made here or people that come here because of tourism and the music and just as what's called a joie de vivre, this is a very attractive area where you're going to find things that you're not going to find in other parts of the country. And finally, information technology. So if we look at medical, if we look at the energy sector, if we're looking at entertainment and we look at IT, look at CGI just recently, and there's companies that are moving here. I know there's a move to make even downtown Lafayette a technology hub. We can make this economy grow in many other areas. That there's a lot of potential there if we really focus our attention there.
All right, it's coming up now on 8:32 on Acadiana's Morning News. Another quick break. We continue with our discussion this morning with Carlos Harvin, one of the candidates for Lafayette Mayor President here on KPEL.
Welcome back to Acadiana's Morning News as we continue on talking to each of the Lafayette Mayor President candidates. This morning, we're spending some time with Carlos Harvin and kind of continuing our conversation from the last segment, sir. I've got 2 questions off of it. First off, you were talking about the culture that we have here in the arts and the joie de vivre that we have here in this area in Lafayette. Let me ask you this. When it comes to budgeting purposes, we've been talking with some of the candidates about where does the library fit into the budget? Where does the arts fit into the budget? How do you see the library and the arts fitting into our current budget situation if you were elected?
Wow, great question. The library, and thank God we can see that we've got a surplus. So I think it's been about $8 million that's been allocated for the construction of a new library, and I think there's a $14 million altogether surplus that's in that library fund. So while we build a new library, we still have funds left over. That library is so important because it's a gathering place for so many people in the community. It's a place to close the digital divide. students and adults who may not have access to internet access, to Wi-Fi, to look for jobs, to do research, for educational enrichment, going to a library after school hours or in between jobs for someone. That's a lifeline to so many, and it's going to equip people with tools to really contribute to this economy. It's going to contribute people to grow their education. So I think the library funding, we need to continue what we're doing. It's going to raise the quality of our workforce. And so it connects with the other. To equip people with skills that are needed, a library can help do that. It's a gathering place for the community and to prep them for moving into the workforce. And with the arts, what we're looking at is there's a CREATE initiative. So I know that there's funding that's been allocated by the current city parish council to continue focus on how we can get arts into our schools, among our youth, how we can enhance and strengthen the culture here in the Acadiana area. So that funding is so important. While we fix our drainage, while we fix our roads, let's not forget the spirit, the soul of Acadiana, which is so attractive. That's why we've got Festival International. This weekend, Festival Acadiana Creole, there's going to be thousands of people from all over the world coming, and from the United States, coming to Lafayette, Louisiana. Why? Because of our culture, because of the art. You're not going to get Zydeco music anywhere else but in Southwest Louisiana. So we cannot lose that. We've got to invest in that, and we've got to make sure we're passing that on to the next generation.
So you've mentioned about that you are not a believer in raising taxes. Do you believe that some of the money, like we've talked about the library and the surplus that it's had, do you believe that that's money that should be rededicated to solve drainage, roads, and bridges issues? How do you believe that should be tackled in the budget while maintaining that balance with the culture and with the drainage and infrastructure needs?
And that's a great question. Let me finish the previous two questions when I answered. Not when it comes to property taxes, no, we should not raise property taxes. I would love to see 5,000 to 10,000 new families move into Lafayette Parish from the outside. Mm-hmm. So what we would do is let's raise the revenue that is coming from more residents living here, homeowners, through our property taxes. Now, in addition to that, I'd love to see a percentage of that recordation tax, that when a family's moving in here, there's a tax that, a transfer. If they're going to move in, we should dedicate a part of that tax recordation, an amount of that, into a drainage or housing production trust fund that would fund our parish, because our parish council is underfunded. I think after all dedicated money is spent in the current budget, our parish council is going to have about $99,000 left. It's not much. So we need a way to have an ongoing source of income without cutting education, without cutting needed services. How can we figure out some innovative ways that we can generate money that's going to mitigate the flooding problem? That is something we need to look at from a regional perspective. So we don't want to tax the current residents, but if someone is moving in from outside Lafayette Parish, I think a part of that tax recordation fee should go towards tackling the drainage problem on a parish-wide level, even a regional level.
Do you feel as if moving forward with this council situation, it'll be quite an interesting feat, I think, to consider, okay, you got your city council, you've got your parish council. I mean, nobody, I think, is exactly sure how we move forward with this, because we don't have a little pattern to tell us, okay, this is going to fall under this and that's going to fall under this. And I know the transition team is going to be working on it, but does that give you a little bit of a fright, fear about what the form of government, what the shape will be going forward?
Bernadette, there's a Chinese alphabet symbol. It's called crisis.
Okay.
The character for crisis is also, it can be looked at as an opportunity. And this, we're coming, as we come into 2020, and it's ironic that we're looking at clear vision, 2020 vision. We're coming into a new season in this area with a city council. We fixed the charter. We've got a parish council, 5 city, 5 parish, a mayor president. We've got new players coming in. So this is an opportunity for us to begin my first 90 days as mayor president. What I would do is convene a city parish summit. So just like, I know we've got Saints fans and LSU fans and Raging Cajun fans are listening. We all love to win.
Yes.
And folks weren't too happy last night with the outcome of the Raging Cajun game.
Yeah.
But, it's a chance to put together a winning game plan. In the first 90 days, let's get on the same page for the first 4 years of our administration and our terms as public servants. What is the low-hanging fruit? And what are some achievements we want to accomplish, we can point to in the first 4 years? So that's going to mean let's get together, let's huddle up. Let's all get a game plan. So all of our municipalities, we all each have a priority. Lafayette has something. The north side of Lafayette, the south side of Lafayette, Carencro, Scott, Youngsville, each one of the mayors and city councils and residents, faith leaders, business leaders, can we point to 1, 2, or 3 projects to say in our city, this is what we want done? And then can we say, what can we do as a city parish that Lafayette can help Carencro, Youngsville can help Doosan? What can we do, whether it's drainage, whether it's jobs, whether it's roads, infrastructure, public safety? What can we do as a parish so that we have a common set of priorities? I would love for us to get on the same page early on in this new season.
It is coming up now on 8:44. We continue our conversation. We've got one more segment left with Carlos Harvin, who has been joining us this morning, running for Lafayette Mayor President as we move into the future. So we'll take a break, and we'll be right back.
Final segment today is we're spending time with Lafayette Mayor President candidate Carlos Harvin. And I want to transition in our last segment and talk about our first responders. Let's start with police pay. How does Lafayette move to become more competitive for police pay as Carencro seems to be offering higher wages? We talked earlier about, we have a parish as a whole, but we have these individual police departments, and Lafayette Police have definitely been making it known that they are underpaid. And so how would you address that issue, sir?
Wow, great question, Brandon. And I want to applaud our police force under the leadership of Toby Aguilard. Ever since 2017 to 2018, the homicide rate has dropped 64%. Not only are our police officers underpaid, they are overworked. Let me put it this way, they are performing. They're delivering. So we definitely need competitive salaries. We don't want to lose our best and our brightest officers to other jurisdictions. Our police officers are fathers and mothers. They've got families to feed. They've got families to take care of. And so, yes, if they're delivering, and which our police department is doing that, we need to send a message that we not only support them, we want to retain the best officers. And we've got a great police force. So we've got to look at that not only from a city perspective, but I think we could look at that regionally. Let's make it known that the Lafayette Parish area compensates its officers, and let's put something comparable to what other jurisdictions are doing. So let's look at Carencro. Let's look at other jurisdictions that are paying their officers and make it competitive so that we're not going to lose dedicated, committed officers who are doing a fabulous job.
And how would you do that without raising taxes?
Well, see, that's where our city council, parish council, we're going to have to make some hard choices. We're going to have to identify funds. We're going to have to identify monies that we currently have. I would also say when it comes to generating more revenue through taxes, if the need arose, that is something that needs to be put to the voters. For example, we could see the growth of Lafayette Regional Airport. That referendum was put on the ballot. The voters unanimously, well, a large number of voters supported it. It was a sunset tax increase. It had a sunrise, sunset clause in there, and it generated more money than was needed to build that new terminal at Lafayette Regional. It was raised in a shorter amount of time than it thought was needed. We look at a TIF district, like what built the Target at Louisiana Avenue and I-10. So I think if the voters thought that there was a need to temporarily raise some taxes, to put a stopgap, to plug a leak that we had in our budget, then the voters should make that decision, which they have. If they want to vote it down, like we saw with the sheriff asking for more money, we saw the schools board asking for money for school expansion, the voters voted it down. There are certain decisions I think we should put to the voter, but that's the job of the council. That's why we're put in the position we are. And Mayor President, we've got to find revenue so that we could compensate a very committed police force.
When it comes to fire protection, there are a lot of people in some of the outlying areas that aren't right in the city of Lafayette. And, obviously their concerns are big because you pay one way or another. You either pay in higher premiums for your insurance, or you're going to pay when it comes to fire protection itself with the trucks and the station and firefighters. Is that another part of this equation, going in there and seeing if we can find more money for firefighters as well?
Absolutely. And the firefighters will say, hey, don't forget about us. As we're talking about those first responders who put their life on the line every day to protect us and keep our families safe. Yes, we've got to find ways. And that's where I think attracting more families, let's increase our property tax revenue. Let's get more families moving in so that raising tax rates is really a last resort if we even have to go there. Let's look at bringing more businesses so that the tax, even if we've got some business tax incentives to reward those businesses, but getting more sales, because the two primary sources of revenue for a local government is going to be property taxes and sales tax. Fortunately, sales taxes is up in certain parts of our parish.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's look at ways to continue generating revenue through sales tax. That's growing the economy. If we grow tax through sales tax and through an increased number of families moving into Lafayette Parish, that increase of revenue can go towards police department, firefighters, and other areas of our budget that are underfunded right now.
Carlos Harvin is the gentleman we've been speaking with this morning. He's one of the candidates for Lafayette Mayor President. And as we're wrapping up here, sir, we always like to give those final 30 seconds to the candidate themselves to kind of wrap up their thoughts and what you would want to tell listeners before they head to the polls on Saturday.
Wow. Well, thank you, Bernadette and Brandon. It's been great being with you.
We've had a pleasure doing this too. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. There's three kind of people in this world. There are those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who ask what happened. I'm the kind of person that likes to make things happen, and that's why when I felt the fire and the urge to get in this race, just like I felt the call to go into the ministry, I felt a call to serve. I felt a call not to sit in the stands and watch from the sidelines, but to get in the game. So I'm asking voters on Saturday, 2 days from now, Saturday, October the 12th, we all of us are the same on Election Day. We've all got one vote to speak. And I pray that you cast your vote for Mayor President. I'm number 93 on the ballot, Carlos Harvin, for Mayor President, because we are one parish, one people. We've got one purpose. Yo quiero hablar a los que hablan español. Yo quiero ser su alcalde presidente. Those who speak Spanish, I want to be your Mayor President. And please remember, we all win with Harvin. Thank you.
I love your slogan. That's great. I love it. That's terrific, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time today. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Carlos Harvin was our guest. and that is candidate number 4. And we've gone in alphabetical order. Carlos Harvin joining us this morning as we interview each of the candidates for Lafayette Mayor President. So appreciate all that time with him today, and good stuff. All right, so one more candidate to go. Tomorrow's Friday.
Yes.
The final 5th person, and again, alphabetical order, Miss Nancy Marcotte will join us on the air tomorrow in the 8 o'clock hour, and you'll be able to hear from her.
Yeah.
Talk about a little bit, we'll ask her about her vision, her thoughts, what it's like, being a woman running for office. We talked about earlier, Kathy Ashworth, last lady who was kind of in this role when she was running for mayor years ago, during the prior, way that our government was set up. So it's been interesting to have 3 ladies this year.
The cool thing about this mayor president's race is that each candidate has certainly a unique background. When we just talked to Mr. Harvin, who's a pastor, and we've got all the other ones as well that have different backgrounds, and that we've gotten into it with them as they've told their story, and now we get to hear Marcotte's story tomorrow. Yep,
it's going to be looking forward to that too. Coming up now on 8:58. Thank you everyone for joining us on Acadiana's Morning News.